Good lady from District 18.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To debate against the bill.
You have the floor.
So, I understand that we're here today because the bill that was passed last year is now being challenged as unconstitutional in federal court. But I think that the current bill retains all the core problems of the original legislation when it comes to constitutionality and potentially adds new ones. Because there's this whole long list. I counted, I think, 32 things, which are basically anything that can happen to the human body. Nausea, diarrhea, fevers, depression, basically anything that can happen. Now, under this law, women who appear with any of those things, they show up at a hospital with breast cancer, with diarrhea, with anything, the hospital is required to interrogate them as to whether they've had an abortion and how many abortions they've had and when and all that. That's under the current law. However, this new law adds even more things. It actually extends the interrogation process for those women. And if you turn to page 3 of the bill, lines 19 through 30, add a whole pile of other things that now they're going to be interrogated on as well. There's no other procedure, of course, in the state of Idaho or in the history of the world in the practice of medicine that has anything like these kind of reporting requirements, and now we're adding to them, further singling out a procedure for which there is absolutely no precedent on the books. No patient, no doctor has ever had to go through anything like this for any other procedure. Moreover, these new reporting requirements, I think, actually jeopardize privacy interests. So the original bill had kind of a fig leaf of privacy there, saying that when all this reporting, they're not supposed to keep track of your name or your social security number. However, at some point, this becomes pretty identifying information. When they have to require the reporting of the county and the age and the race and the date and all of these items, now we're adding to that. Now they're adding that they have to have the location and the date of treatments of all their other abortions or whatever, or not just abortions, actually follow-up treatment for fever and nausea and diarrhea and anything else. By the time you have to report all this, it can get pretty easy to identify a person. So notwithstanding that their name may not actually appear in the record, we're really exposing these women to a breach of privacy by further expanding all of the things that have to be reported. Not to mention the additional burden that's being placed on women and their doctors. So I think if the goal is to defeat the pending lawsuit, then this bill is kind of counterproductive because I think it potentially makes it worse. Moreover, it doesn't resolve a core problem here, which is the lack of any scientific value, because everything on this list are things that are just as likely, perhaps more likely, to happen to you in an actual pregnancy. You're going to have bleeding. You're going to have nausea. You're going to have everything on this list, except breast cancer, which isn't going to happen from either one, but that's nevertheless on the list. But if you're not collecting this information on pregnancy, then you're giving, or any other procedure, you're giving women no useful information whatsoever on the risks of abortion. So there's no resolution here of the lack of any scientific value. This remains in statute a process that exists solely for the harassment of women and their doctors. It enhances the harassment to women and their doctors by adding still more things they have to report, which is why it's opposed by the IMA, and I think it gets nowhere in terms of defeating the pending lawsuit and perhaps creates additional due process and constitutional problems. So for that, I would ask for your red light on this.
Is there